I wanted to begin. I'm going to be speaking in just a moment, but we wanted to open. We are going to have it open at the end for questions. We believe all things that prosper in the right way prosper in order. And so feel free when that time comes, ask the questions. You'll learn very quickly. If you don't know Everett and myself, we are very transparent people. So we will be speaking tonight, asking questions. I'm going to start, first of all, thanking you for coming. I'm amazed at the outpour this community has had. To know what's right, to do what's right, to allow everyone to have a voice. I have watched for days now the messages. Our phones haven't stopped, and so many people have reached out to us in this community. And so thank you for being a community that drew me here 3 years ago. I came here and it was for my job, and everybody thought I moved to the North Pole. And I said, no, that's not where I moved. But I fell in love very quickly with this community. And I've been here now 4 years and absolutely love it. So I want to start tonight with Miss Terry. I know she has a letter to read. And Miss Terry has been an angel. She's the one that has orchestrated a time for us to all get together. I thank the pastor and this facility and this church for opening up for this space for the community to have a safe space to come and have this conversation and hopefully move mountains after tonight. Miss Terry.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. Um, One of the things that I am hoping that this will be very transparent, the truth will come. There were four of us that got together one day and said, this isn't right. I um, volunteer at the mission. I've been at the mission for several years now. I had met Everett, and I was blown away with his charisma and all that he had to offer this community. And then I opened the paper, and it's quite a shock to me. So, anyway, I do have this letter, and it came from somebody that could not be here tonight, and she wanted this to be read because she felt it was very important to be able to see some of the stuff that Everett is doing on the side that nobody else sees. Um, she said, I met Mr. Jones at the Junith Affair at University Park. Even with his prestigious title, Mr. Jones humbly participated in activities like the game I hosted as if we were just as if it was just a regular person in the community. He connected with the participants of my game, and they shared jokes and guessing the answer. After my game was over, I shook his hand and I introduced myself because I had heard about him in town. He was surprised. I know who he was and gave me his card. Our community needs leaders in our human service programs that remember that they are people first. We need community leaders that aren't afraid to go to any part of the town and connect with the people while still maintaining professional presentation. Mr. Jones wasn't afraid to sincerely get to know the people he is serving. The characteristic is so important so that he can empathize with the people he is serving. Then she went on to say, I am the administrative director of Jersey Mike's in Grand Forks, Fargo, and Moorhead. She said, I have worked in the restaurant when we were short staffed. Mr. Jones came in for coffee or for lunch one day. While making his order, we spoke about his intentions to assist the rehabilitation of the community members he serves. He spoke about 5 minutes just discussing the possibilities of not just having a place for community members to rest while they are homeless or displaced, by his vision on how create trainings and professional development opportunities in a transitional service. He asked me to email him what we had spoke about, and I was so busy I forgot. He came in for lunch again, and I happened to be there talking to my management team. He reminded me that I didn't email him. This was so impressive to me because this meant that he was listening to my ideas. His vision was important to him, and he really wanted to do great things in your program. I hope in your efforts to make the best decision for this community, you remember Mr. Jones' character and his vision for assisting the community in helping those in need. And her name is Erica Dunsen, Dunsen. So I thought that was very admirable that she wanted to take the time to tell people that this man just came to town, is meeting lots of people, but he didn't forget me. So I think with that, we have Anna.
Good evening, everyone. Um, I do want to start by saying that the reason why I genuinely here will be last, because I would like that to be the most impactful thing, sir. Just to clear some possible questions about a few things, I did not leave the board thinking that I would be absolved of any legal repercussions that may come from this. I've actually embraced them. I just had to decide which team I wanted to have my back while I did that, because I was part of a decision making process that if there is legal repercussion, um, that's my team. Okay. And so I understand that. I just wanted to make that clear. I did hear some things thinking that that might be the reason why I left, was to avoid that. Um, no, I face it with the armor of God, but I'm ready. Okay. So I just would like to make that clear with everybody that I will face the exact same thing that the rest of the board will if it does come to that. Um, Sometimes we make decisions with man and forget who we really truly serve. And for a moment, and a moment too long, I forgot that and was part of a decision that made me lose sleep and forget what is bigger than me, and that's doing the right thing. And it was never to make anybody else look bad that I came out and expected or just tried to have us a little more transparency and some clarity for Everett. This is a man with a soul who was very unsure about why certain things had happened to him. Also, we live in America. We have a right to face our accusers, okay? And we have a right to due process. I understand this wasn't a legal situation in that way, sir, but if we can afford that to criminals, we can sure afford that to a man who was trying his best. None of us are perfect. So, uh, again, everything I'm saying, I was part of a decision, okay? And the decision was not in favor of Mr. Everett at that time. All right? I stand firmly in saying, dang, Anna, you messed up, okay? I don't expect his forgiveness. I, I have not earned it, okay? But sometimes the light comes in, okay? The big guy goes, get your life together, little girl. Um, my faith firm in my foundation did not allow me to continue to lead that what I did not think was right. So, sir, what happened that there's language that I used that was passionate about something when I was told that there was substance use. Okay. I will not reveal other things that were had in that meeting. Okay. But I will stand firm in telling you that I know that that now was a blatant lie and you don't deserve that. that is slander to your character, even if it was just to a room full of people, it ended up changing the entire trajectory of your life. And you did not deserve that. And nobody does. You came here looking for community and love because your love told you it was safe. It was a safe place, just like my love did to me. And to be faced with something like that, that kind of fractures it a little bit when everything else about it is beautiful. I am sorry. Please do not forgive me. I do not deserve it. Okay. I'm asking for the forgiveness. I'm asking for your grace, the same grace that I did not afford you, or at least stick to my convictions to afford you. And plain and simply, you did not deserve it. The community didn't deserve that upheaval, and ma'am, you did not deserve it either. Because I know you're his champion, and you cheer for him and you support him. And when the people that we love are fractured, we then suffer with them. So I don't know what questions I will be able to answer for anybody. Unless a legal entity comes to me, then I will be able to share more things. Until that time, though, please just know that he did not deserve to be let go the way he was let go. That is what I am standing firm in. We have some amazing board members at the mission. Okay, operative word being some. I will leave that at that as well. The mission is a great mission. The people that volunteer there, the people that work there, they're amazing. It is a worthwhile mission to continue on and forge forward. We just maybe have to switch up how we do business and how we people love one another. One rule. The Lord has one rule. And we know that if we follow that love, everything else looks quite beautiful. So that is my encourage from everybody to from this time forward, and to not ever judge this man for anything that is circled around this. That is all I have to say. I thank you all for letting me come up here. We will be leaving though, because like I said, I won't answer any questions unless a judge tells me to. So thank you.
Thank you. Pardon me, I just need a moment to sit in that. She is very true when she says, when someone you love is damaged, you feel that pain. I work out of town a couple months out of the year for my company here in Grand Forks. And the first thing I did was put him on a plane. I've never seen a grown man be in the state that he was in, especially when I brought him here and told him, it's going to change your life. They're good people. We're a little crazy, but we fit in. And I said, come. He said, leave New York? I said, yes, because I don't want to move to New York. I need you to come to Grand Forks. Tonight, I wasn't sure if I was going to speak, but then I realized I would be the only one in the room who could speak about the man that you know as Everett and that I know as the love of my life. I feel responsible and honored at the same time to stand here before this community and speak on behalf of Everett. I've spent days trying to find out the right words. And that's very fitting, but because to know Everett and I, we are people of words. Words matter to us. We think before we speak. It's something we stand by, live by, taught our children, and continue to try to be in our businesses and about this community. So when the words substance abuse were spoken over his life, they hit him like a punch in his gut, and they shocked me. Because those words do not describe the man that I know. For the past 6 months, I have had a front row seat to Everett's journey here to Grand Forks. I've watched him search for the right job, for the right purpose, and for his calling When he decided to move to Grand Forks, it wasn't just because of me, even though I wanted to think that. It was because he knew he had a work and a vision, and his passion aligned with Northland's rescue mission. I remember him telling me, they picked me. They said I'm the right guy, and I'm the guy to help make change that they're looking for. His face, his eyes, everything about him lit up. I remember the board, when they started interviewing him, said, we would love to bring you here. We just don't have the money. And Everett said, I will pay my way. He flew here for interviews and paid his way. He was that passionate about coming here and just hoping he would get the job. It was all done on, I hope I get it. I said, babe, because I'm the equal, that's a lot of money for an interview. He said, it's okay, it'll be worth it. And he came. He showed up. He stood before them, transparent, humble, honest. He answered every question, no matter what it was, full transparency and integrity. He was the new kid on the block. He wasn't from here. He wasn't part of this community. I'll never forget it when he got the job. Like I said, he lit up. I lit up. And then I realized our whole lives were going to change, because the passion that Everett has for people, I better put my running shoes on and be prepared for what I knew he was coming to Grand Forks to do. Then the real test came. Just weeks into the job, the truth about the situation came to surface. The mission was in dire need of help. Night after night, I would feel him move throughout the home, pacing the floor, worried about the mission. I would ask him, you've got to sleep. Why are you not sleeping? He said, babe, I need to pay that wonderful staff. I need to feed the hungry people. I need to grow the situation in the mission to where we can outreach and teach people how to apply for jobs. And I have visions and visions on top of visions. What do? I said, do what you always do. Put your boots on, hit the pavement, and get in the community. And that's what he did. And through it all, every sleepless night, I have never heard him say, this is too much. He never blamed anyone, even though things were not transparent of how bad it was when he took the position. Never once did I hear him say, this person could have done it better. That person messed it up. He got into the streets. He met you as a community. He didn't just do the job, he became part of this community. In 6 months, his language from, Grand Forks, the people of Grand Forks, to my community, our community. We're going to be here, babe. As long as we could be here, invest in this community. The job I have, invest very highly in the community. It's a daily thing I do. Our job is very active in this community. I was prepared. I wasn't as prepared as Everett was to invest in this community. He outran me. He met with chief of police, pastors, teachers, business owners, city council members about forming what we now have in this city, a task force. Other local like-minded businesses. He connected with anyone who cared about making Grand Forks better, not because it was the Everett show, but because this was our community. Together, we can make a difference. That's what he kept telling me day after day. Because Everett believes in people, and he believes in us as a community. Now I would like to speak about one of the most painful things, the allegations. I could speak about many phone calls I heard. I will give that space to him. I'll stay in my lane, as I say. But I heard them. I listened. I paid attention. The allegations, the cruel, baseless whispers about substance abuse. Let me be clear, very clear. On June 17th, 2023, Everett experienced a pain that no parent should ever endure. He lost his beloved son. He was a young, early 20-year-old, beautiful human. But what you may not know is that Everett has watched how the struggles of mental health can take hold of a life as it did his son's. He's seen what can happen when pain and isolation go unspoken, when good-hearted people are overwhelmed with battles of their mind and they just give up. The loss didn't make him bitter. And I don't know if there's some of us here if we could say that. The loss made him dedicated. It's why every day when he walked through the doors of Northland Rescue Mission, he looked into the eyes of those struggling and said, I see you. Because he truly does. He knows what it means to fight unseen battles. And that is why he refuses to give up on anyone. The kind of grief would break most people. But Everett, he stood back up. He kept going, not because it was easy, but because he made a promise to his son to keep living with purpose, that he would spend the rest of his life helping and investing in men and women that were struggling quietly. To those board members who voted to fire him while sitting in a board meeting and witnessed one of the board members speak and say, I'll bet my paycheck. I will repeat that. A board member said, I will bet my paycheck. I'm speaking to the board members that aren't here, but I'm going to speak. There is not a drug, nor a bottle, no pill that he ingests that flows through his body. The only thing coursing through Everett's body is grief. Everett lives every day with the substance of grief. And I don't know that pain. That is the drug of choice for him, is to take the grief daily, plant his feet on the floor, get up, and by the grace of God, go out the door and serve this community. What this community has witnessed is a man that is determined to help save, even if it's just one. He drives his compassion daily. It gives power to his purpose. How many of us can say, we've slept on a park bench? Everett did. Went without food. Everett did. Buried a child. Struggling. Everett did. And still, he chooses to stand. He takes a job where he's reminded of his son daily. Reminded of the one he couldn't save. So he's here to save as many as he can. That's who Everett is. He's been the hands and feet since he has come to this community. He knows the struggle and what it feels like. He also knows what redemption feels like. And that's what he wants the individuals walking in Northland Rescue Mission to feel. They can be better. They can do better. They can make it. We are a community that loves them, wants to help them, wants to lead them. That's the community you all have created before us. So what will we do? Will we leave with just the comfort that we all came together tonight and just had a conversation? Will we leave just knowing that we might have shed a tear or had a little bit of pain point of frustration? What will we do as a community? The lies that we don't have a voice as we sit here tonight and look around at each other proves to be wrong. This community has a voice. This community has invested money, time, prayers, tears, blood, sweat into Northland Rescue Mission. You have a voice. Or will we just accept that we have people in the community that can get away with telling a vicious lie and hurt men and women of this community that are here to do good? Is that what we're going to do? Is that what we stand for? And before I close, she left. But the conversations with Anna, yeah, she made a wrong decision. I don't think anybody here tonight could not raise their hand and say, we've all sometimes put our foot in our mouth or made a decision we wish we could go back and do. But it's when we don't do that it's wrong. She stood here tonight with dignity, embarrassment. She didn't have to come. She said, I owe you that, Everett. And she wept. The phone call was lengthy. Our conversation was intense. But again, Everett showed compassion and empathy and kindness. Good thing I wasn't the one talking. I'm not sure I would have delivered all the blessings of God. But I watched him in awe. Say, it's okay. I forgive you. It's okay. We all make mistakes. And I'm putting a muzzle over my mouth, making sure that I only say what I want to be said. See, sometimes our emotions rise up and we just say things and nobody's listening. So Everett and I have taken this time to make sure what we say matters and that it's heard. I'm going to speak to the board members. I'm ashamed of you. I'm ashamed that people who walk the same streets with us, who own businesses, that ask us to trust you, that work in our local college, that work in our local banks, that are local members and workers in the medical field, those who speak to the community and say, come to our shops, we'll give you a beautiful experience of love. I'm ashamed. How can you? How can you speak such lies and think it's okay? They can't even look the community in the eye and speak. You deserve that. I'll tell you, whether Everett was guilty or not guilty, he would still be here tonight. He would still stand before you, answering very difficult questions if they came. If he was somebody that did something wrong, he would still be here. But I stand here tonight to tell you the allegations for Everett's behalf are false. They're disgusting. They're lies. It's wrapped around jealousy, hate, and all things that Grand Forks is not about, especially Northland Rescue Mission. The individuals that work there are beautiful humans. They sacrifice daily. They pour their lives out, and some of them never get recognized for what they do. They're cleaning out their pantries to fill the pantries at the mission, and their families are going without, so somebody can have a meal. Everett has shown us what it looks like to rise. Now it's our turn. It's our turn as a community to say, sir, we brought you here. It's our turn to stand up, speak out, and have the wrong turn to right. I hope somehow, somewhere, something will shake the board members to realize the mistake they made and earn the respect that Miss Anna earned tonight in the community. Because whether you think it or not, what she stood here and did takes some guts. That takes courage. Because she doesn't answer to Everett for her mistake. That's not his judgment. I want everyone in this room to hear me and hear me clearly. We won't sit still. We are here. We are part of your community. We will not stop loving the people of Grand Forks. We will not stop giving away free food. We will not stop fighting for him to have this job back. Not because there's no other job. Calls have come. People have asked. But his passion is Northland Rescue Mission. Hear me when I tell you, there's nobody that's better than Everett to lead you as a community. There is nobody that understands the individuals that are there better than Everett C. Jones. Everett, my love, I stand with you. I believe in you. I honor and love you deeply. Don't you stop being the voice of many. Those army tags that you wear daily, that some might not know what they are, with the beautiful face of your son, you wear them with boldness. You stand firm. You stand tall. And don't you dare put your head down. Now come speak to the people that you now call your community.
Well, she might like me a little bit. First, I want to say thank you for coming. Sincerely, thank you all for coming. I sat in the back and I was just watching people drive in, and you hope that you have support, and you hope that people will show up in these moments for you. But to see it, I've said it 1,000 times over, in interviews and on radio shows and so on and so forth. I've never seen an outpour from a community like this. Never. On any level. I've been in human services for almost 20 years. Um, I'm 48. And I've lived in a lot of places. I've lived in New York, I've lived in Florida, I've lived in Georgia, I've lived in Ohio, in some capacity doing this work. And for all the places that I've been, and I say this with absolute sincerity. I've never seen a community move like this. So I want to, because my love said a lot, and I love her for it. Um, but I know why we're here, right? And I'm going to answer questions, and I'm going to give you all information because I believe in transparency, period. I'm not the type of personality that, hides behind the veil of anything, because I believe in my heart that whatever God has for me is for me and can't nobody take it from me. So this situation um is unfortunate. It's unfortunate because it didn't have to be, right? I want to be clear. This has nothing to do with anything but ego. And I can back what I say with absolute fact. So I'm going to take you back a little bit. So some of you know my journey, my story, whatever the case may be, in terms of how I got into human services, right? To Crystal's point, I've lived a lot of life in my little 48 years, right? When I got out of the military, I decided that I wanted to go to New York, and I decided that I wanted to pursue music, and I was going to be famous, and I was going to go to the Apollo and do all the things. And because I was young, I was 19, so we're talking about almost 30 years ago. I didn't think it through like most young people. I just knew what New York looked like on TV, and that's where I was going. But that's not where I ended up. I ended up in upstate New York, um, in my 1983 Cavalier, and I didn't have any resources. I didn't have any friends or family there. I just went because when you're young, you just do. And I could fill up my tank for $20, and that's what I did back then. Um, but I ended up homeless. I had nowhere to go. I had no resources. Um, and life happened pretty fast. Now, unlike the people that we serve, my bout with homelessness was probably more self-inflicted than I care to admit. A lot of youthful arrogance, and I didn't want to call my mom because I don't know about you guys, but I have one of those moms that as soon as I hear her voice, whatever she says. And I didn't want to go home. And I knew if I called her, she would tell me to come home and I would go. So I didn't call. And then I didn't quite master the parking on what side of the street thing, so my car ended up getting towed, and I ended up sleeping on the streets and ended up sleeping in, the tunnel slides when I could, and, ended up in a lot of different situations that just weren't productive. Right. And so I like to think that God prepared me in a very specific way to do what I do. Right. Like, people talk about blind faith. Um, I don't know that it was necessarily blind faith. It was just all I knew. Right. I'm a firm believer if God can bring you to it, he can bring you through it. And so I went through some things. And as I got older and wiser and, things like that, I believe that God was preparing me to be on the path that I'm on, doing the work that I do in a way that I can be relatable to the people that we serve, not afraid of the people that we serve. You know, every decision that I made at that time wasn't a good decision. You know, I'm able to have conversations with the chief of police because I've been on the other side of that. I understand what empathy needs to look like. When people are just trying to survive, just trying to get by, the inconveniences of being homeless is it's a task to carry. So I built my career around it. And like I said, I've been doing it for 20 years. So in this instance, I came across a Miss Crystal, and we talked about her moving to New York, because it wasn't a situation that I needed a job. I was the director of residential services for the YMCA in New York. That's what I was doing. Met her. She said, have you thought about North Dakota? Never in my life have I thought about North Dakota. Right? um, but I traveled back and forth. She came to visit me. I came to visit her. And there's just something infectious about Grand Forks. They call it North Dakota nice, or, you know, I don't know what that means. Some people say it's a good thing. Some people say it's a bad thing. But what I do know is this community embraced me in a way that I didn't anticipate. So I want to talk about a couple things up front. One, because I read the messages and the stuff that the comments, and you try to stay away from it, but you know, sometimes you're bored and you just go down the rabbit hole. So I want to be very clear about one thing that I saw. I do not believe that this is a race thing. Okay, I want to be absolutely clear about that. This is not going to be spun into a race thing. I'm not going to allow that energy to come into just simple right and wrong, right? So I want to make sure that I'm absolutely clear about that. Two, I do not do drugs. I want to say it again. I do not do drugs. I barely drink. I can count on one hand how many drinks I've had since I've been in Grand Forks. Had a drink when I got the job because I was excited. Had a drink when I got engaged because I was excited. Right? Those marquee moments. And when I say a drink, I mean a drink. If anybody's ever seen me out at events, even when there's, beverages there, I'm usually drinking water. For a couple reasons. One, I'm pre-diabetic, right? Two, I'm always hot, like always hot. Three, I have a heart condition. There are certain things that I can't do, just period, you know. And then four, I think I'm fun enough without all the extras, right? So that out the way, I wanted to make sure that everybody understood that. When I came to Grand Forks, I had every intention on just doing my job. Like, this is the first time that my position as a director has ever been this front facing, right? I'm usually, off in the cut, doing budget stuff and staying out the way. So when I found out I had an opportunity to collaborate with other organizations and have conversations where conversations weren't being had, and try to bridge some of the misunderstandings about policies and things like that, because again, I need everybody to remember I've been doing this work for 20 years. I know how it works. I know the decorum. I know the process. I know the policies. And this is how we got here. I need you to hear me when I say that. Knowing the processes, the policies, and procedures is why we got here. Not because of anything that I did, not because of anything, well, maybe because of something that I said, but what I said was follow the policies and procedures. That's how we got here. That's the truth of the matter. I was put in a position where there was some financial strain at Northlands coming in, a substantial amount of financial strain. And I wanted to fix it, right? So what I did is I went about the business of meeting a lot of you lovely people and, being as active as I could be. And in my being active, I came across an opportunity to deal with a bank about a line of credit, right? And this is for everybody that's wondering, I'm going to literally tell you what happened. Okay. So the line of credit seemed reasonable to me. The numbers made sense. Everything was great. I took it to the board as I take everything to the board. There's nothing that you've seen me do that I did not take to the board and have conversation with the board about. So this happens. The bank is willing to work with us to not take on debt, but to convert debt, right? Give us a little bit of a fresh start, a little bit of a, little bit of wiggle room. Fine. Took it to the board. There was mixed feelings about it, as there should be, right? When you're, in terms of business, these are things that you have to consider. So I went about the business of presenting a case for the line of credit and against the line of credit. And then I gave my recommendation because that's my job. I recommended for. There was a board member who was against it from the onset. And the conversation was, we don't want to use the building as collateral for this line of credit. Understood, heard, perfectly fine, got it. Until I found out that the building had already been used against the line of credit. So now it's a different conversation. Because again, this is not new debt, it's just debt conversion. For those of you that understand what that looks like, what that means, that's all this is. This is taking it from over here, moving it over here, and they'll give us a couple extra pennies in the process. Cool. Again, not my ball, not my court. All I can do is present the information. So the day that I present the information, this particular board member makes it his business to call every other board member before the meeting to make a coup. I go into this meeting with everyone saying, no, absolutely not. We're not going to do it, so on and so forth. Not my ball, not my court. Fine. I still want to present my case. Do I have space to do that? Absolutely. I present my case. Everybody changed their mind. This board member chose not to show up on that particular day because, in all fairness, and this is no slight against anyone, this is just the facts of the matter. In all fairness, this is how this is typically gone, right? You have sidebar conversations, so on and so forth, and whatever decision is made is what's made. I believe that he felt that he had this in the bag. This was not going to be a thing. But again, the facts are the facts. The numbers don't lie. This is what it is. Fine. The board votes, gets approved. We move forward. I'm done with it. I've done my job. I've done my part. Shortly thereafter, I start getting an obsessive amount of phone calls and text messages from this board member, which is still fine. You got questions, you want better understanding, you want more data, so on and so forth, fine. However, what you don't get to do is make these demands in the middle of my day while I'm still trying to do all the things that we do at the mission. And it's not just me, it's the staff. We have things to do. I don't have time for can you pull 5 years of data and I've only been here 5 months. And can you put it in a graph, right? And this is not something that I'm saying. This is something that I can prove because it's all in here. See, when you don't trust people, you tend to text more than you talk. So there's nothing that I'm saying that I can't prove. I said to this gentleman, is there something comprehensive I can give you? Because I have things to do throughout the course of this morning that you woke up deciding that you need a million different things. As a matter of fact, what I said was, is there something comprehensive that you need? The one-offs right now are a bit distracting. That's what I said. He responded, sorry, continue to ask me for stuff. He asked me a question that wasn't accurate. So when you do board meetings, I want to make sure that I cover everything. When you do board meetings and you do your financial data pools, it's just a snapshot of that moment that you pulled the data. It's not the week after that you have the meeting, right? So he said something. I said that's not accurate. I told him how much money that we had, so on and so forth. I said very specifically, and I want to make sure that everybody understands how we got here. I said, I understand that you're not a fan of this transition we're making. As I've always stated, it's not a pretty thing and nothing anyone wanted to have to do. But all the data and payables that were all the data that was present when I got there, some of it had gone unaccounted for. So I was finding stuff, right? No fault of anybody. It's not a pointing the finger thing. It's just I can only do what I can do based on the information that I had, right? So I said I presented to the board with complete transparency with no vote to give. I don't get the vote at the board meeting, right? I said it seems that the board decision to move forward was theirs to make based on all the data that has always been available to everyone since I started, along with the realities of day-to-day operations. Because for those of us that are in this field, we understand things pop up all the time. Van goes down, pipe bursts, this older building. These things are real. I said, everyone wants to do what is in the best interest of the organization as a whole. And short of you, the financial advisory board, along with all other board members, agreed. You have to remember, the snapshot that the board gets at our meetings is based on data up to that point. It is pooled and does not include fluctuating of days, hours, minutes, seconds post the data pool. I am hopeful that instead of trying to prove me wrong, that we can still move forward partnering to ensure that in this season of new beginnings, we can collectively be better at keeping all things above board and transparent to the Northlands Rescue Mission so that it can be healthier, stronger, and even more impactful. That's what I said. What he said, thanks for the text. Over the last 2 weeks, I've asked you to hold your financial analysis and conclusions until we can work on it as a team. Instead, you threw a bunch of numbers in the air, or whatever your analysis was. Your calculations, comparisons, periods, and conclusions are something to behold. Then you went around and made personal appeals to the board members. I'm going to put a pin right there. I called 2 board members. I called two board members because in the 5 months that I had been there, I had never heard these two board members speak. And I wanted to make sure that they were comfortable speaking because it's a lot of guys on the board and it gets heavy and heated sometimes. And I just wanted to make sure that the two ladies that I called didn't feel like their voices weren't being heard. That was the extent of the calls. That was it. That was all. He said, I cannot let your financial interpretation stand. It would be ignoring my fiscal responsibility to Northland's rescue mission. Be clear. I find the move a waste of time, but I don't really care about that. You forced me into this position despite me telling you last week this was going to happen. So be it. So it didn't register in the moment because I was basically like over it back and forth. A few weeks prior, when I was talking about this financial business, this particular board member said to me, listen, if you push this, the board's going to terminate you. That's what he said. Okay. Call me bullheaded. I felt like if I presented my case and it made sense, the board would understand. And they did. And they voted. And we were moving forward. Then he started asking for all the extras, the data pools, this, that. And I asked him to respect my boundaries. Stop calling me after hours. Stop texting me after hours. Stop calling and texting me in the middle of my workday. We were getting ready for the banquet. We had things to do. So I told him after a heated exchange, and I have that too, but I'm going to kind of shorten it up. I said, I'm going to pause, is what I said to him. I'm going to pause so that I don't come across unprofessional. But I'm going to need you to back off, is what I said to him. Again, the board has this conversation, so this is not like breaking news. Every single board member has every single message that I sent, that he sent. So I did what I thought I needed to do, which was escalate it to the board chair because that's my upline. With this to me, maybe you guys should go out for hot chocolate. Maybe you guys should go out for hot chocolate. That's what he said. Not laughing, dead serious. I said, we haven't been going out for hot chocolate. We haven't been going out for hot chocolate. I don't see go out for hot chocolate. I don't see go out for hot chocolate now. I don't have a dog in this fight. I don't have a dog in this fight. I didn't make a decision. You all didn't make a decision. You all made a decision. Y'all can go out for made a decision. Y'all can go out for hot chocolate. Hot chocolate. But my part is done. But my part is done. Right? So, that turned into maybe we should go to his house. Go to his house. I don't want to go to his house. Want to go to his house? Well, we're going to go to his house. His house. Okay. Called. Okay. Called. Hey, just so you know, I don't have time. I don't have time to go out at his house at all. I would rather not. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. Okay. Well, as long as it does rather not. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. Okay. Well, as long as it doesn't take all day. No, it's not going to take all day. Easy peasy. It's going to be great. Great. They know it's not going to take all day. Easy peasy. It's going to be great. Great. We go. Takes us a substantial amount of time to get there. We're there for an hour. Takes us a substantial amount of time to get back. My day is shot. No work that nothing happens. The next day, maybe the day after, he sends me a message. Friday noon, Saturday morning. Great for you. I have things to do. I definitely have a life. We're not doing the weekend thing. Like, how many of you are employed? And how many of you understand that once you open that door stays open? So I said, no, not hanging out with you Friday afternoon, Friday evening, Saturday morning. No. That turns into a thing. And at this point, I'm spent. And I'm going to share this last piece with you, and then I'm going to answer your questions. At this point, I'm spent, so I contact the board chair. As any, I like to think, reasonable, maybe, perhaps their ego got out of control, and I got fired. You know, there's no way to nice that up. I even asked the board chair, hey, can we have a conversation about the email I sent? Got it in there too. No, not yet. And the next thing I know, I get a text message about some meeting that we have to have. So up until the 9th, up until the first, everything was fine. We were moving forward, had a meeting on the 9th, which means you had no intention of terminating me until something or someone got in your ear and pushed the issue. Because we had a meeting on the 9th. I was terminated on the 2nd. Why would you schedule a meeting with me on the 9th if all these nefarious things were? I mean, that's a heck of a hat trick. And I have it. You can't even say it didn't happen. I've never professed to be perfect. I've never professed to not have lived a life that led me to this point. None of that. I have nothing to hide. I'm not a substance abuser. Never have been. Not my bag, not my thing. Right? I'm very honest. I'm very transparent. I appreciate you guys' support. I don't know how this is all going to play out. I do know that I have legal ramifications that I have to deal with in terms of how to address them individually. Right? So I want to give some perspective on that. When it comes, and it's coming, it's going to say Northlands Rescue Mission. Right? And then it's going to say each individual board member's name. Don't get it confused that I'm coming after Northlands Rescue Mission. I am not. Legalities say I have to say it a certain way. But I want to make sure that everybody is aware. That's what's happening. And outside of that, questions? That's what I hear. So what I hear is, I can't say with 100% certainty, so I want to make sure that that's clear. What I hear is there was a Zoom meeting, and said Zoom meeting was recorded. There should be, but I also heard through a very reliable source that it was instructed to delete that meeting. Okay. Now, like to your point, it's not like we can't roll back that beautiful bean footage with the nice subpoena and so on and so forth. Right? Like that's just the reality of it. But yeah, there was a meeting, and then what I hear is there was a subsequent meeting because it was asked why I wasn't at the meeting. And the reason that was given was that I refused to come to the meeting. Now, I don't know how accurate that is or isn't, but it tracks. Sure. Sure. Well, up until the second, I was amazing. I was no, quite literally out of their mouths. Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate it, but no, I just want to make that very clear. There was no issue. There was no verbal. There was no written. There was no final. There was no nothing. I was when I tell you I was so caught off guard, I couldn't react. It was just like I asked for context. I asked why. That was the only thing that I asked. And the answer that I was given was the board unanimously decided. Okay. And I went and got my it was so sad. I went and got my box and had to take my son's picture down and my dad's flag down. And I did say this to one of the board members that was present about the board member that wasn't present. I told him any slander, misinformation, or if you try to smear my name in any capacity, I'm going to dog walk you. That is what I said. And that is what I mean. Because you don't do that to people, not just me. You don't do that to people. I'm a man that takes great pride in being able to provide for my family. All of the warm, fuzzy aside, all of the mission and all that aside, I'm a man who takes great pride in providing for my family. When you take that from me in an unrighteous way, you are attacking my manhood. There are only certain things that make me me. And I appreciate all the accolades, but I'm telling you, I'm very simple. I want to take care of my woman. I want to take care of my kids. I want to provide a good life for my family. When you attack that because you feel like it, because your ego's not getting stroked enough on any given Sunday at 10 p.m., you got to pay for that. I'm going to get another job if they decide not to reinstate me. I have skills, I'm capable. But you don't get to walk away from this unscathed because that means that you can do it to somebody else. I can only imagine what the staff is feeling like. We built a bond, the staff and I. I haven't heard from anybody, which tells me they're afraid. They're afraid to talk. I hear that board members are scouring people's social media pages to make sure that they're not saying anything untoward. This is who we're dealing with. This is not about whether or not I get my job back. This is about understanding who these board members are and what they are doing and how they are crashing into the work that the good people at Northlands Rescue Mission do. There's only so much I can do. Yes, ma'am. Sure. So there's not a election process to in the way that you're thinking. So we just had a new board member come on right when I started or shortly after I started. I don't know what that process is. I don't know how someone gets nominated. I don't know how, I know they have to be voted in by a majority vote, but that's as much as I know. I also know that that board member didn't get the bylaws. And I know that didn't happen. But outside of that, I really don't know the process. I've not been on any boards to be able to say left. 7, all of them, from what I understand. 8. Well, no, I'm sorry. One wasn't there, but it was unanimous. But anyway, in the board's emails, I used to. They're not. It was supposed to be today. No. From what I hear, it's supposed to be Monday or Tuesday because they canceled tonight's board meeting because, pressure bust pipes. They have a monthly every fourth Thursday was the schedule when I left. I'm pretty sure that schedule at the mission. No, there aren't any public meetings. I think there doesn't. So I want to help you guys kind of understand the process of the boards. I, I I understand that one would think that there would be all this public access, but you have to understand that these nonprofits are private entities. They do. That's fair. But I've done a couple things. I've tried to reach out to the AG and get some guidance. Um, from what was explained to me, they don't get involved until there's a certain level of legality that gets involved. And so we can't, unless we can't force the information in the way that I can see, but you can reach out to the Attorney General's office, and they can help you along the way in terms of getting that information, I believe. Actually, I want to say 2024 or maybe 2023, but I know that there's an audit happening now. No, 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 that hasn't happened. As far as I know, no. Now, understand, I've got a whole 5 months under my belt, so. I think that's fair. S- N- No, themselves. Ish. Are they what? They're volunteers. So I want to make sure that's understood. The board members are volunteers. So they don't get paid. They don't have any financial interest in the organization. Um, so I find that's what makes all of this even that much more interesting. Yes.
Okay, so if they have, if they're volunteers, do they have any stake into helping the people in the mission, or do they just do whatever they want?
I think that so I wanna take a step back. I Go ahead. Can you repeat the question?
Okay, if you have a board of people and they only answer to themselves and they volunteer themselves, so they're basically just, they have their own agenda, they're not looking into the people that actually live at the mission and what they need. It's just what they are wanting everyone else to. So,
So here's what I will say, and I want to be fair. I believe that everyone came to the table with good intentions. There were times where the board members were volunteering, they were feeding the community, they were giving meals, they were working in the kitchen, they would bring their families there to volunteer, they would bring their children there to volunteer. So I don't want to paint this image of the big bad board. What I personally believe is there's a lot of misinformation and a lot of things that these board members don't know. And then it gets comfortable after a while. You know, you take one board member 7.5 years. I'm sure he's very comfortable in not understanding. Even when I looked at the bylaws, they hadn't been updated since 2021 and they were incomplete. Right. So I want to give the benefit of the doubt and assume good intent to a certain extent, except for the lying and the not truthful part. I think that the board members that are involved got involved initially with pure intentions and good heart, and then something shifted. Yes, ma'am.
If I can respond to that lady, that has a question for the board. I was on the restoration board for maybe what, 10 years together? And it was different back then. We really fought against it. It was in the organization we did not think because what we did, even we felt big. So I think, this is my board member has been on quite a while. Probably there is legal things with this. I actually after the leadership of virtual move and kind of situation right there. 10 years, 20 years, 10 years, 10 years. And it was in dire straits the same way it seems like it is now, and we're just getting back on track. I think we'll move it, but I just want to let you know that a lot of board members are not like this particular board member. They're very, very invested and they're very dedicated. And if I could ask a question,
Sure.
as far as the finance,
Mm-hmm.
when you first moved here, about radio,
Mm-hmm.
I was just adapting because you started talking about how financially dire it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember having to deal with that 10 years ago.
Yeah.
How are not the donors concerned about where their money is going?
I believe that, like most people, when you donate, you assume good intent. You assume that whatever you're being told is the truth, or whatever is being presented is the truth. I just happen to operate from a space of transparency and being able to say, hey, we need help. And you guys showed up. Like, let's be clear, it was not pretty, right? And you showed up, and we were able to make it through those very tough months of summer. The reason why the line of credit became a thing is because, yeah, that was a flash in the pan. And while we're on the upswing, what are we going to do moving forward? The feedback that I got was, oh, we have, Giving Hearts Day and this event and so on and so forth. And okay, fine. But then what? That was always my position. My position has always been, I look at the donors like I look at my mom. My mom tells me, make me your last resort, right? If your life is crashing and you need help, make me your last resort. Do whatever it is that you can do to figure it out before you come asking me for money. That's what I think about our donors, because things happen. You know, the van went down right before I left, and the donor was able to fix it and pay for it. Right? God's golden rule, God's hands. Yes, golden rule. Fixed the van, didn't charge a dime. Right? So my goal has always been to how can we become more self-sustaining? You know, so that when we do have to go to the city or we do have to go to the donor, it's because we've done everything that we can do. That's always been my position, because I understand that people in those positions, that's what they respect. And that's what they expect. Not for us to keep coming with our hands out, but for us to figure it out the best that we can for the most part. And then if they need to come fill in the gaps, come fill in the gaps. So I don't know what happened. I don't know, because I would say it's 2 board members. I wouldn't say it's just 1. I would say it's 2. Because those are the only 2 I've ever heard from about anything. So, yes, ma'am.
So you were never awarded any formal feedback before you were fired.
No,
I think Mexico doesn't have those.
it is. It is. However,
I mean, that just seems so. Well, he would never know how to unprofessional. And I will say, did you that day?
Mhm.
I'm sure you're so taken aback.
I was so taken aback, I put out a press release.
Did you not ask for
I did.
a formal hearing and a formal evaluation?
No. What I asked for was context. I asked them for the reason why. And the reason that I was given was it was a unanimous vote.
And you didn't push back.
Not in that moment. My pushback would have not been nice in the moment.
Well,
Don't they have, I mean, I thought that this community should be the one that turn around and say to you, if that would have been the problem,
Mm-hmm.
and it was true, they should have done a drug test.
Yep.
They should have said to you, I mean, you go to most places in business and they will support you. They
Well,
will help you.
well, because that's the law. That's not, you don't get to pick and choose that. If you suspect someone of substance abuse, legally, you have to test them. And then subsequently, you have to offer them treatment. That's the law. That's not because we're being nice. That's what you have to do. I've dealt with it in my tenure here. You know, so this is not, I think what it is, and I'll just pause right here real quick. I think what it is that we have a board of directors that don't have any human resources experience. And they don't know that you can't do certain things. You know, I mean, because none of,
Professionals on that group.
but that doesn't necessarily mean that they are responsible for staff. It doesn't mean that they have people that report to them. They're just professionals, just like a car mechanic would be a professional. Doesn't mean they have the wherewithal or the understanding of the human resources component. And that's why they did what they did, because if they knew what I know, and those that are in human resources know, they would understand this is not going to end well.
how can you get this in advance? audit process for them. Which had some shade, there's an awful lot of hidden content.
To
Shoved in the closet. Well, I would like to know, your name is out there, Everett. Everybody knows that.
Mhm.
Why isn't the board member, why isn't his name? I mean,
I'll tell you, they- he said they wanted. He has no privacy. Say his name.
So there are two board members that I'm talking about, and all of this that I'm sharing is alleged because I wasn't there, right? Um, it's the chair and the co-chair, Steve Brecky and Rob Troyer. That's their names. Yes.
And she excused herself, but I'm gonna tell you, I was there when Anna called. The original conversation was, we have some grievances and there's things that was brought to the board that, we're upset about Everett. She said, show us the proof. Yeah. They didn't have it. Anna said, there were two board members that was not going to vote for his termination. They wanted proof if he was not doing his job correctly, if he was not doing things the way that they should. She kept saying, I need proof. So what they pulled out at the very end, and that's why they wanted the Zoom call shut down, was, well, we just want to tell you, he's got something to lose. And she said to us, heard it with our ears, that's what made me vote to have you back. That is what they pulled out at the end. Because they could not prove anything up until that point. And she said it was herself and one other, she did not disclose who that was, that's when they changed their mind. So a lie made them change their mind and make this decision.
So yeah, so those are the two board members, which I said it's the board chair and the co-chair. Um, I say that with all sincerity, and I want you to hear me when I say I have never spoken to any of the other board members ever, except for the two board members that I called just to make sure that they felt comfortable having a voice. I've never spoken to any of the other board members outside of board meetings. And within the board meetings, they don't say anything. Sir.
If it's fair to say that part of your job is to develop a relationship with the board and that really has to come at the forefront of their job.
Absolutely.
What specifically did you do to establish workable relationships with them, and why do you think they unanimously decided?
So I think that, so to answer the first part of your question, I cultivated a relationship with the one that I had the most access to. Everybody else has jobs and, careers except for this one board member. He became kind of my sounding board. So I would call him, he would call me, that type of thing. It was a great rapport, so I thought, until he did, because he was the holdout about this line of credit. Right? So I think that there are people that show up in your lives as lions in sheep's clothing. And this particular board member made it his business to play me close, to be very, very interactive with me and tell me how great I was doing every time we spoke, until I went against him. And that's what happened. I think that part two of that is, when you have people that have an exorbitant amount of time to invest, you just assume that they're going to do the legwork. So this board member is the legwork person. because nobody else has time. They have careers, they have, other things that they have to take care of. So when he says, oh yeah, I checked into that, you believe him, because why would he lie? That's how that happens. It's just human nature. It's not a matter of fault. It's just the way that it happened in this situation in terms of him being the most accessible. The board chair doesn't have time. Rarely ever. I'm busy. I got to get out of here in 10 minutes. I got to get out of here. Like, understood, but this is the board that I got. So I don't think that, it started out as anything malicious. I just think that he didn't like that I kept deferring to the rest of the board. It wasn't even a disagreement between he and I. It was me telling him the board voted. Talk to them. Don't come after me. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
Credit that's going to be collateral against the North Carolina Commission, which already has been used as collateral. So like, we're like, you think it's going to be out that obviously you said it was already used.
Sure. Yes, you can. Sure. So and I don't know the details of the agreement because it's not done yet, right? So I want to make that very clear. But what I will say is it's a conversion, right? So you're taking it, you're literally moving it. You're moving it from right here to over here. No, no. I don't know. I mean, I can speculate and assume and make, guesses. I don't know. But what I do know is that's when the conversation switched from how great you're doing to you're just throwing numbers in the air. I don't know. I don't know. I would hope not. I don't think so. And unfortunately, and I'll be honest with you guys. If they had told me that, cool. Now I know. Then I'll go negotiate with the bank that we're at. But I didn't. If that be the case, then just say that. But I'm out here, thinking I'm doing the right thing, only to find out it might not be. So I don't know. Yes, sir. Hi.
Good to see you again, Everett.
Good to see you.
I represent Grace Baptist Church.
Yes.
Really good meeting when you came out on a Sunday.
Uh-huh.
Took time out of your free time to come speak to us, and we really appreciated that.
Mm-hmm.
When I heard about you being let go,
Mhm.
fired, it was very concerning to me, especially when they said you violated their core values.
Sure.
So my first response was go to Scripture.
Mhm.
The Scripture says to be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow
Mhm.
to wrath.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure, do I have all the information? Because the Bible also says, he that answers a matter before he hears it is folly and shame to him.
Mm-hmm.
We have seen that happen already among the board.
Mm-hmm.
I do not want to repeat their actions.
Sure.
So I reached out to them that Friday, sent them an email and said, hey, what core values did Everett violate?
Mm-hmm.
I got a reply back on the 13th. They did not answer my question. However, they did come back with 3 new allegations.
Oh,
And I would like to
sure.
just have you answer those if you could.
Absolutely.
Because, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, the mic.
You got
There we go. Okay.
So I got the email. I'll skip to the important part. While Everett brought energy and passion to his role, you definitely did that. We were very impressed because we as a church were concerned about where the mission has gone over the last 10 years, and to be honest about that. Sure. So we were questioning whether we were going to continue to support the mission. When you came and answered us, we were all on board. We loved the direction you were taking the mission. So while Everett brought energy and passion to his role, there were some serious concerns behind closed doors, including unprofessional treatment of staff and board members, the presentation of inaccurate data and claims, which I believe is probably the financial data, and decisions being made without board approval. These actions put the mission at risk, and despite multiple conversations and opportunities to improve, the issues persisted.
Okay.
So this answer from the board is contradicting what you have presented tonight.
Sure.
So I wanted to be able to hear your responses to this, and I can leave you a copy of this too.
I appreciate that. That would be very helpful. Thank you.
So it's right here in the middle is
Yep.
where it started.
Okay, so let's
Thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Let's see. No, it came from the interim director. No. Correct. Because that's that's unfortunately how that gets handled. No, she did not write that. I will 100% say she did not write that. Yeah. Okay. I'm rushing. I'm hurrying, y'all. So just to give you guys some clarity in terms of what I'm doing, I'm scrolling through text messages because I have every single message since the day they decided to interview me. Okay. Duh.
So what should we be doing now? I mean, what's the next step that we should, I mean, the action plan?
That's, I was wondering the same.
To contact board members, we often do that, I mean, but that's not gonna work.
No, so email back with the social worker's name.
Yeah, and I emailed her too, and she's never responded. And she's talking about it.
Well, she is in a bind. I agree.
She's in a bind, and I guess I'm wondering, I'm a volunteer, so I don't have a big, I have a stake in it because I volunteer to be a board member. It's something I love to do, but.
So June 10th, 5:57 a.m. Your message and vibe is perfect. We have not had this amount of attention ever in my experience. I am almost shocked, to be honest. Great work, great action. Keep your foot on the gas as long as possible, please. And are bills getting paid? Yes. I will call you later, but all good news. Is it possible to continue the momentum? So, no, I mean, it's not, I'm going to just have a quick moment and then I'm going to go because I know it's getting late. There is not a single thing that I have done that I have not brought before the board before I did it. Ever. Because I understand that I'm new here. I understand that getting the community's trust is a process. I do not just arbitrarily do things. I understand what small community feels like, regardless of how much we want things to be on the up and up. I'm from a small town, born and raised in Fairborn, Ohio. Similar population. I understand the unspoken things. So I'm not going to come crashing and just doing what I want to do because I think it's a good idea. I don't know if my good idea even works here. Right? So I say all that to say there's agendas, there are minutes, There is a paper trail for everything that I have done, everything that I have suggested, things that I have suggested that I've been told no, things that I have been suggested that I've been told yes. First thing that I did, I guess that is of significance, is when I restructured the banquet. Asked, hey, because even the board said, oh, it's gotten boring, it's gotten stale, the food was nasty, you know, we spent too much money last year, $30,000 on food, right? This year, the entire event is about 20 grand, including the food, including the awards, but I asked before I did anything. I think there's one thing that I didn't ask about, to be fair, and I don't even know that they did it or are going to do it. The one thing that I didn't ask about is I wanted to create space for people that perhaps have medical procedures and had to stay at the shelter. And I wanted to create a couple rooms where they could have a few days to recover. Um, but I didn't get to it in time. But that was the next thing to do. Everything else, adding the additional rooms, shutting down the pantry, walking away from the backpack program, uh, everything. And let's be clear about the backpack program. That was asked of me when I started. And I was trying to figure out how we could make it work, and we just couldn't. And luckily we were able to partner with United Way, and they were able to take it over, and it all went smoothly. So I don't know what they're talking about, sir, to be honest. And if that be true, I would own it. You know, I maybe gave some pay increases that I shouldn't, well, that I didn't ask about, because my thought is if I'm out here raising the money, then I should be able to figure out how to get it if I need it and still treat the staff well. So, yes, ma'am. Uh huh. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
And we've been sent. Oh God, you. Okay, so I work at the Nest, and he was talking about how he made a suggestion for like having medical rooms for people that have had procedures. I can very much say that that's not happening there. We've been sent a lot of individuals recently who have been deemed medically unfit, whether it's from a procedure or they have like a history of stuff,
Sure.
seizures. So I know that that's not happening.
And that's, so to your point, that's not to say that it's not going to happen. That was just the last idea that came up. And there's mattresses that have to be purchased and things like that. So yes, sir, in the back. Thank you. Uh huh. The current board of directors. I don't. I won't. And so that's the, you got to get with the AG, the Attorney General's office. I know that I do. I think it's like ND Gov. Yeah, like it would take something on that level. Um, Unless you guys just want to make them uncomfortable. To be honest, that's a very difficult thing to do. Period. Right? We can be upset. We can be outraged. We can throw our fist in the air. But the reality is, it's a process. It's not something that would happen overnight, unless someone was on the board that was willing to say correct, and then they would have to vote, and so on and so forth. So right now, it's pretty locked in. You could do that. There's you can put pressure on the individuals in terms of you know I hate to say this, but in terms of like their businesses and their professions, the work that they actually do, right? Because here's the thing, something like this does impact the board members personally, sometimes licensure, depending on what they do for a living. There's we have a CPA, we have fundraisers, there's licenses that they have to have, obtain, and maintain in the lines of work that they do. And fiduciary misconduct, because that's what this is, it doesn't fare well for them and personally. So I would just say to everybody, first and foremost, thank you for being willing to hear me out. But secondarily, I would say keep applying pressure.
You guys have one POC that's gonna be coming for information on yourself, but like, so like she was suggesting a petition, but that was a good suggestion, to get the individual to step down or
Does
other people to step in, reinstatement.
does anybody want to volunteer to be that POC? I think there you go. Point of contact. Yeah.
Would you be willing to be reinstated if the board actually admitted they made mistakes and asked you that? Change
If they step down.
if only they said
Absolutely. The trust is, yeah. Yes, ma'am. I think that it's necessary. If you're easily manipulated in that way, you shouldn't be on anybody's board. Yes, ma'am.
So, as somebody who also works with a similar population, I'm just curious on what is the board's education or experience that allowed them to make these decisions? I understand that you did talk like they have good intention,
Mhm.
and I respect that. But do board members spend time helping out on the floor in other cases instead of just the fun events where everybody's on their best behavior?
That's not been my experience, but that has been what I've been told, that there was a point in time where they were individually active in certain spaces like the kitchen and things like that. But I can't say that I've seen it since I've been here.
It's very different environment.
Right, right. And I think that the community sometimes confuses seeing board members out with seeing board members out working for the mission. Right. They're all highly active in the community, but then that doesn't necessarily translate to being active on behalf of the mission. But I think that uh, the mission is the big shiny toy. So it looks good to be attached to the mission. Right. Yes.
This will be the last thing I say, I promise. So, the same board member, Rob, is his name. His name is Rob. When this incident happened, the banquet, he had donated. When he was upset, called and took that donation back. So if you care about the mission, why would you take something back away from the mission?
And then once I was
Once Everett was fired, he gave it back.
again, no, but what that constitutes, in all seriousness, as ridiculous as it sounds and as ridiculous as it seems, that is fiduciary misconduct. Like you can't do that as a
We do have the text where that happened.
yeah. Listen, receipts. He's retired.
So he's so retired, he should have had time to do drug testing. Because he had nothing else to do.
No one knows. That no one knows. Yes, ma'am. In the back.
I have some bylaws questions. I assume you have read them.
I have.
Is this a private nonprofit?
It is.
How are the board members nominated?
That I don't know. I walked in on a nomination. So the last person that joined the board was Scott Berg.
Who votes for the board?
The
New
board.
board members?
The board members.
Are there any members? Is there any membership in the mission in addition to the board?
No.
Are there any official ways in the bylaws in which donors have vote for the,
No. So
I think the reality of this is we all need to support you in any way we can support you.
I appreciate
And
that.
this system is broken, and the people who are smart about how we care for the homeless population in town need to figure out how to fix it. And it may not be this group.
Absolutely. I think that when I stumbled across the bylaws, because they weren't given to me by the board, they were given to me by a staff member, and it just so happened that they had it. They weren't even necessarily supposed to have them. So when I look at it, it looks like how it would look if someone just randomly typed up some stuff. They're incomplete. There are no structured ways to deal with employees and onboarding and or offboarding. There are no structured ways to deal with hostile board members. None of that is in the bylaws, which, from my experience, that's always in the bylaws, because if not, you find yourself in this space of perpetual, this. You find yourself in spaces like this where you want to do something, but there's no clear path to what you can do. Yes, ma'am.
I just haven't.
This one.
An incident that happened at our house. One Saturday morning, I'm writing out a check, and my husband says, "Who's the check for?" And I said, "That guy at the mission." I said, "I've been reading about that Everett Jones." I said, "I'm supposed to go down to Love and Action this morning." You remember?
I do.
I'm supposed to go down to Love and Action and give him a check. And I got down there, and who's standing out in the front? Everett Jones, greeting people. It was so wonderful, and I just wanted to share it.
Well, I appreciate that. The community, again, I can't say enough about the community of Grand Forks. You guys have been extremely supportive. I thank you so much for that. Love and Action has been just amazing to partner with and collaborate with, and just to be around. This community is made of so many good and pure hearts, and it's unfortunate that we find ourselves in this space right now. But even if it's not me, we need to make sure that this doesn't happen to anybody. Yes. I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am.
Are the board of directors, okay, I Googled them and all that. This is craziness. I am new to, I read about it. I am a city leader in Eastside. Are they public? Their emails public? Are they hard to find?
They were.
You emailed
They
okay.
So
because on the site it only has the interim director email.
yeah. So it was on the site.
Okay. I know a few of them personally, but what my question too, do you have a plan? You don't have to tell us your plan, but my gosh, I hope you're fighting this, because
I do have a plan.
Okay. And what can we do to help you?
So what I would like to see happen, I guess, so we could wrap this thing up. What I would like to see happen is I would like for everyone to write down my email address. And I'm going to I ask that you email me so that I can have your contact information. Just simply email me your contact information. And then what I can do is by Monday, I can give you steps forward. Is that fair? Because like my honey said, this happened on the 2nd. She was in Michigan. She told me to come to Michigan. I just got back today. um, because it was just that heavy. And in that process, my grandmother passed. And then I had another family member have a stroke. And so we've been battling. Oh, yeah. Our son got hit by a car. This is, yeah, he's sore, but he's okay. So my email address is mrejones 1977 mr at gmail. I'm past my hotmail phase, but I want to tell you the cleverness of my email, because I'm super clever. If you say it real fast, look at that. Mr. E. Jones, 1977. That is the year I was born. That's right. Right? I'm there. Like, took me forever to get rid of my Yahoo. And so if everybody would email me, please. Yeah. You can put it on Pastor Chris's live stream, because he's been streaming and he's going to post it, and I'll put my email address there, and whomever wants to reach out can reach out there as well. And just so in closing, I want you guys to know I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving the community. I love it here, and I appreciate the love that you've extended to me. I appreciate Pastor Chris for taking the time to allow us space and opportunity. I will say this to you, sir. I have visited your church, and when I tell you, when I walk in here, there's such a sense of peace that I receive when you speak. It's very calming to my spirit. I appreciate that from you so much, especially today, because I was in a parking lot and I was kind of emotional about things because I hadn't had to be here. And just getting back here was just like, okay. Right. So thank you guys.